Okay, and so we've got another. So I was gonna try to save this for tomorrow, if possible. And the idea was that Allies was gonna be the main deck today. Burn was gonna be the backup deck, or the deck between rounds. We're gonna save this for tomorrow or Wednesday. But let's get into it today. So this is our second lesson, or I guess technically third if you count the VV build. But this is our second like lessons build, and I will say some people are not super big believers in lessons, and we didn't have a very good win rate. We had a horrible win rate the last time we played it. That being said, here's like my argument for continuing to work on this. This is a deck like the Gran-Gran is a 1 mana is a 1 mana legendary creature. 2 toughness is really big deal. That works very well with Springleaf Drum. Springleaf Drum, it can make Springleaf Drum cost 0, and then Drum lets you trigger this the turn it comes down without needing to attack with it. Being able to loot every turn is very, very powerful. When you get this clause online, non-creature spells cost 1 less. This clause is also really powerful alongside your other lessons here. And then, so Gran-Gran gives you a high density of 1 mana legendary creatures to enable Mox Amber, just the Mox Amber, Mox Opal package in general, which is very strong thing to be doing in modern. And like it overlaps even better than you might think because of Boomerang Basics. This is like a repeal that adds to your lesson count and can also just bounce any opposing permanent for 1 mana. It's got some advantages over repeal, though you don't get to draw a card if you bounce an opposing thing. So I just think that this package is very interesting to me. This is like just a very interesting overlap of 2 existing powerful plans that give you a lot of cards and a lot of mana. Now, the problem that I'm finding with this package is that you want to mess with some of the numbers. Like here we're playing 4 Emry because you really need it with Ascendancy, and we're playing 1 less Opal to compensate. But for the most part, like this package is like 38 cards, and this is if you play 14 lands. And I weirdly think 14 lands is right because you have so much artifact mana. Despite having 14 lands, we have 24 mana sources. You have very little room to wiggle with as far as winning the game goes. It's like your actual plan to use this like package of mana and card draw to win the game is very small, which is why last time you saw us play the Legend of Karuk and then Time Warp just to kind of go all in on this. Today we're playing Fatestitcher and Jeskai Ascendancy, and I think that this slots in really well because you really just do need these 2 cards. Stitcher's awesome, can loot it away with Gran-Gran, can mill it over with Emry. And of course, you don't need to have a creature already in play to combo off and win with Jeskai Ascendancy. And then all of the card draw, the accumulate wisdom, abandoned attachments, all of the little 0 mana artifacts allow you to start churning through your deck with Jeskai Ascendancy too. I remember back when Treasure Cruise was legal, Jeskai Ascendancy was like a much bigger contender because the ability to just spend 1 mana and go up 3 cards was incredible with Ascendancy that just let you filter through your deck to assemble the win. If your opponent has blockers for Fatestitcher, you just tap them with your Fatestitchers and you get more Fatestitchers too. So just you don't really need like anything else than this for the most part. Also, Emry Jeskai Ascendancy wins, where you can just go tap Emry, cast a 0, untap it, cast a 0, and you keep doing that until eventually you mill Fatestitchers and you find Moxen and stuff to cast. And so yeah, I think that this is a shell that makes a lot of sense. I also really like that you have the Boomerang Basics to bounce Loch pieces. You just kind of have that for free plus the Otawaras. So that definitely feels like this is a version that deserves a look. Because I do think that there is an interesting overlap here between the Gran-Gran lessons and the Mox Amber, Emry, Tamiyo, Mox Opal package. But what you can do with it is very small. You have to be a pretty linear combo deck, I think. This is one of like the most difficult to evaluate package of cards I've ever played with. It's like the Boomerang Basics overlaps really nicely. Accumulate Wisdom being a 1 mana draw 3 in a deck that really, really loves a 1 mana draw 3 is awesome. There's just a lot to like about this package of cards, and it's one that's taking some time for me to understand how good it is. And so I'm not necessarily too interested in comparing how this is to the more normal version of Ascendancy yet before I understand exactly what this package is capable of doing. And so it may just not be good compared to the non-synergy stuff, but it's at least weird enough and interesting enough that I think it's worth streaming, you know. Not sure why Ashiok. No, it's true. Cool. Every fucking day. All right, so they have a sink and they've got a bauble. So we have seen some like artifact Belcher builds, but this is probably just affinity. Kind of stuck with these baubles a little bit. Let me cast Accumulate Wisdom here. Find a Gran-Gran. Not too helpful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cycle the baubles. Interesting. Shock with the 52 months. Thank you. Welcome back. Opponent might be thinking about just explosivesing my Opal if they have nothing else. They have something else. And they go after my lessons in the yard. It's a boss. Okay. See, blue scales is kind of interesting. We've messed around a little bit with just like cutting scales from scales, and I don't exactly recommend it, to be honest. Otawara is an interesting one to keep on top. I think we just need spells, though. 14 lands in the deck, by the way. Not worth casting Gran. I guess we could have Mox Opal to cast Gran-Gran last turn. Maybe that was better, yeah. So they play a Ravager. Them having like main deck explosives is kind of throwing me off. I guess that means they have like Kappa Cannoneer plus that kind of stuff. So I was just gonna attack. Now it seems like I can kind of comfortably just tap this to the drum. I guess I can still attack this turn. Looking for a Fatestitcher. Don't think we need the second Ascendancy. Get no Metalcraft. So Gran-Gran stronger than an Arcbound Ravager. Discards an island, fetches an island. You know, sometimes I just feel like Office Space. Every time I make a little sequencing mistake, I've got a dozen people yelling at me in the chat. Although I do think thinning is fine here. Would you ever want Cauldron? I do think Cauldron's an interesting angle, but we're kind of light on. I don't think you want it in this build, probably. It is kind of interesting to Cauldron Fatestitcher. Maybe there are munitions and Zabaz's for blowing up tokens from Saga. Yeah, maybe. Zabaz plus munitions is kind of cool. They do have an explosives. I don't think they can explosives on 3. They do explosives on 1. And they murder my grandma. We draw Boomerang Basics. So let me see if I mill Fatestitcher off Emry. We have 4 in the deck, 37 cards. We fail to do so. I don't actually know that I want to Boomerang Basics. Like my Opal. I guess I'll just target the Ravager. I don't actually know if I want to loot either. It's like really bad if I draw Fatestitcher. What am I even trying to draw? Accumulate Wisdom, I guess? Okay, nice. Although, they can go eat a lesson, then eat a lesson to stop me from having this active next turn. I guess they could also respond to me casting it too. So they find a Saga. Plays as a boss, 1 card in their hand. So why don't we bait the Cauldron by targeting Springleaf Drum? And then if they cauldron the drum, then we can lessons here. Still gonna cast the drum. Finding another lesson would still let me keep my draw 3. I also, I do just kind of have the combo. So I guess I don't really need to do anything else. I can just I can keep going Emry Ascendancy until they kind of realize they have to break this up because I just get to keep casting stuff. And then this just wins. So we should be winning game 1 here. And more importantly, we get our draw 3. The draw 3 is just so good at Ascendancy, and feels like a deck that's so good at getting it too. Again, this deck has really been a very difficult one to figure out. I do think that this build is showing more promise than the turns build. And then we'll eventually just tap all of this stuff there just dead on board. Okay, so interesting build on their side of the field. I could see wanting some combination of Prismatic Ending Consigns, but this is not really a deck where we could afford to like really over sideboard. Does feel like it's kind of tough to hold up all these Consigns, but the Consigns do seem great against them. Let's see if we can figure out a more controlling sideboard plan. Like, I wonder, can we cut the Fatestitchers again in this matchup? Like, they're gonna have a lot of graveyard hate against me, and if I have Emry, can I just win with Emry? Can I just win with Emry Ascendancy, and eventually I'll draw into like Boomerang Basics and Prismatic Endings to clear blockers and attack? Maybe that's the case. Although honestly, like having one Fatestitcher is probably still always going to be right. And then I'm gonna need to cut artifacts, so we down to Tamiyo, down to Drum, Drum a Bauble. I think we want to be cutting an Opal if we're gonna be trimming other artifacts too. All right, mulligan this. I keep back the Opal. My opponent has kept 7 on the play. Is Modern just going to be play through the 4 Ashiok on your board because of Amulet? So, Ashiok is the best sideboard card against Amulet for the most part. At least it is in this deck. I think it's usually... You could maybe say that Harbinger is going to be better some amount of the time. But it's kind of between those. I guess I'm just not really expecting to have removal, but their deck is kind of weird, so let's get surprised maybe. But yeah, like Titan is a deck that if a lot of strategies don't have a lot of game against, and decks like this that have a lot of Mox in to cast at turn 2 are more interested in the hate cards too. But it is kind of like sideboard against it because it's popular at the moment. I don't know if it's going to continue to be as popular as it has been. All right, let's Prismatic Ending. We want to do this before looting, I think. I guess so. The red mana is for Zabaz / munitions, I would guess. Maybe they don't have munitions, but they do have explosives, so they probably do. Ascendancy plus cutter tokens kill without a combo very fast. That's definitely true. It's possible you could lean more into that. I think that we could maybe have the Ascendancy stuff in the sideboard too. I could definitely see that being the move. Like I think we could maybe even board out like Ascendancy and Steel Cutter and board in Narset Ascendancy and Fatestitcher and board in Narset Steel Cutter for the grindy matchups. But that is a lot of sideboard slots, but it's something I'm a little bit interested in trying. So they have their own Emry and they mill it in engineered explosives. Let's go ahead and attack with Miss Gran-Gran. Do they have surgical extraction? So I drew my land for the Ascendancy, but I think what I'd like to do probably is go discard Prismatic Ending, play Mox Opal so I can play Emry with Consign up for the Saga trigger. And I mill a Mox Amber, which can let me kind of get started with the Ascendancy, but I need to find like second Mox Amber or Bauble if I'm gonna really go off here. This is going to get them some hate cards, so I think we just consign. There's a weapons, 4 cards in their hand. They do have an explosives in the yard, so if they have like, if they have a land here, they can kill all my stuff. They do have a land. They remember to crack their Bauble first, and they get to kill Gran-Gran and kill Emry. And we're kind of locked underneath this too. So did I make a mistake in not playing around the munitions? I could have saved the consign for the explosives. Maybe kind of a tough thing to do. We did leave a Fatestitcher in the deck, but it's going to be very tough to get even that through the like explosives lock potentially. I do have 3 lessons in the yard, so my accumulate wisdoms are draw 3s. They play Demons tapped after some thought. Seems like they almost wanted to crack the islet. Okay, Prismatic Ending is interesting. It's probably better to go after the Emry than go after the explosives. We'll see if they have a counter spell. I think I just want to keep the Amber to loot with. I think if that was Emry or maybe Tamiyo, I would have kept. There's a Tormod script, so it'd be kind of interesting when they decide to pop that. I think my opponent might just like not feel like they want to read accumulate wisdom and crack this now to not see if it checks on cast or resolution. It does check on resolution though. I think that's why Ascendancy went to Corey. They should have trampled the Clara blockers. Well, if you have Fatestitcher, you don't need to do that. I feel like Fatestitcher is like a much better, like kind of all-in combo card, and Steel Cutter is more of a grindy card. I don't actually know what's the best move. They have 4 cards in their hand. Notably, they didn't do anything last turn, and they could have just sacked the Islet, but it seems like they've got Kappa Cannoneer. So we're not gonna have too much time, especially with the munitions. We maybe get like 1 turn after this one. Isn't Fatestitcher Cauldron a combo with Gran-Gran? I know. Well, so the thing is, it's like, when is Fatestitcher Cauldron a combo? It's Fatestitcher Cauldron is a combo when I guess I hold the basics. Gran-Gran Fatestitcher is a combo when you have Jeskai Ascendancy, right? When you have Cauldron Gran-Gran Ascendancy, but it's like, so you can just Cauldron your, if you Cauldron Fatestitcher on the Gran-Gran, that's infinite loots, isn't it? Can it wait? Fatestitcher can't untap itself though. So you need another creature under the Cauldron. This is why our old Fatestitcher combo deck you needed to. Ozolith. I mean, it's interesting, but it's interesting. Possibly a direction to go down. We're gonna need to find our Fatestitcher here. Oh, never mind, we're dead. All right, so I don't think I loved having all of these consigns. I think maybe we just shouldn't be really even playing them. Their build just seems more normal affinity than I thought. It seems like they are probably not playing Ballista. They're probably not playing like Hanger Back. They probably just have like 1 Zabaz they can get off Cauldron, off Saga. Maybe it's just like maybe it's just Ravager and with Cauldron still. Yeah, the Cauldrons threw me off. I don't think I hate this hand. It's pretty slow on the play. I think it's just a little too slow. Unfortunately, no legendary creature, but we do kind of have every other piece. We don't even need the legendary creature if we draw the land with the attachments. All right, I guess I have to put back the ending. Maybe we would mulligan this on 7, but I think on 6 we're going to have to keep. You can unearth Fatestitcher. Oh, so you can, no, sorry, unearth doesn't work like escape. They can still target with the Tormod script. I do think like Flage or all this, like these cards would have been like infinitely better designed. They do have the Ozolith. Maybe they do have Ballista. We did see Ozolith last game. But I do think that these cards would have been much better designed uh if you could like exile them in response to the escape cast cost being cast. All right, so they don't have munitions in their hand. That's how I thought Uro worked at first. I remember I played against Jabberwocky like really early into like the Pioneer. They have Sync Up. We know their hand is Tormod's Crypt 2 mystery cards. They're definitely representing that they have some instant speed interaction. But I thought you could exile Uro in response to the escape cost being cast. So we can potentially go escape the Fatestitcher or unearth the Fatestitcher, play Ascendancy, play Mox Amber, try to go off. Um, I think I don't hate that. It also lets me cast the Tamiyo this turn, assuming that they don't have the counter magic. They might just have the counter magic, obviously. They're representing it, but we really haven't seen a lot of it out of them. This could just be a bluff. And if it could be sync, and if it's synced to bounce to the hand, it's kind of okay, although losing the Fatestitcher is less okay. Okay, they did have a Metallic Rebuke. This was a one land hand we kept, right? Am I okay with them needling Strand or Bauble? I think the answer to that question is going to be yes. Might be a get soloed by Urza Saga kind of game, unfortunately. And they have Galvanic Blast. Well, probably dead. Very good draw from them. Their deck's kind of confusing to sideboard against, too. Things could go, like... I actually don't even know if things could go really perfectly from here. Like, they should just, like, needle Fatestitcher, and then I'm kind of cooked, and then... We got kind of flooded on our mulligan here. I think I like my decision to jam the Ascendancy, because, like, just all this was going to be so tough to beat. Yeah, we ended up going 1-2 with the Mardu deck. Lost to Hammer, which is tough, and then we lost kind of a tough game 3 to Prowess, where they had the double Steel Cutter. I'm not so sure about the Mardu deck. Obviously, I wanted to league it first, but misinputted on the challenge. Well, we're going to need that one. Maybe there should be some number of EE. Yeah, maybe. All right, I'm going to fetch to thin here. I don't really think we can get out of this with the cards in our hand. I guess we could draw Boomerang Basics. Okay, we're out of action. I guess chump blocking with Gran-Gran does buy me a turn, actually. Yes, dead in the challenge. Another Galvanic Blast. Okay. Tough. This hand's really tempting. Let's mulligan the Zero Lander. Right, keep this. Put back second attachments. Too long to not read. It's easy to block ads, so people like it. Yeah, I guess that's it. For me personally, YouTube UI is more. It's good feedback. I do kind of need the ads to support myself as a streamer. So unfortunately, I get to watch ad free with an ad blocker is not. Oh, good force mitigation. Annoyingly good force mitigation. Unfortunately, it's not moving the needle a lot for me. Okay, this has been a Lotus Bloom. Why Fatestitcher? It's a great combo card with Jeskai Ascendancy. even without ad blocker. I'd rather watch a skippable ad every so often than get the forced 8 ad chunks YouTube does. Well, you can watch the uploaded VODs on YouTube. Like, you can get the Aspiring Spike experience over there. You can also subscribe. Can subscribe to experience this ad free. Can consider supporting your favorite streamer. And if that's not me, that's not me. All right, they reveal a Seagate Restoration here. Let's attack for 1. The Force Negation was so good. So this is my first card drawn this turn, so I can go... I guess we discard Abandoned Attachments. Did I see the Japanese top 8 with the airship deck? No, I did not. I always love the small Japanese tournament deck list, though. So if this resolves, this flips the Tamiyo. And let's go ahead and play the Mox Amber out. Okay, very weird, because this looks very similar to the Beseech build we were playing, right? It's very, very similar. Because they're playing like the main deck Ashiok we were playing, and they're playing the main deck Culling Ritual. But what they did was they cut 3 of the Beseeches so they could make room to also play the War and Soul Trader combo. But I think it's in fact they're even playing the Nightmare that we were playing, and then they're sideboarding a Liliana the Veil, I guess, for Domain Zoo, and all of a sudden they just have all these weird random 1-ofs and only 1 Beseech to get them. So very odd, very, very, very this is what Japanese deck lists look really like all the time. All right, they reveal the Flare of Denial. If I attack with Gran-Gran, they do get an annoying double block off. Do have another Gran-Gran. My draw's been pretty bad. I needed that. I needed that Springleaf Drum so badly. Just get it like blind Force Negation is so tough. Yeah, I think Vine is maybe going to be our best move. I think I need to cycle the Boomerang Basics. Try to find a land, maybe. Why do you think that is? That Japanese lists are all over the place? Good question. So I think, you know, I'd always wondered this, of course. And I like when I went to Japan, one thing I was really surprised to see was that Magic the Gathering in general was not as popular in Japan as I realized. Okay, so let's go ahead and cast Accumulate Wisdom. So if they want to flare by draw 3, then I get to attack with Gran-Gran. Just Magic the Gathering in Japan wasn't that popular. Like the majority of card shops I walked by and I went to were more focused on like One Piece card game. Deck Master seemed to be really popular over there. There's a couple other games I didn't recognize that I saw people playing. But I didn't go to like Haruyuya or any of the dedicated Magic shops. But most Magic shops weren't playing Magic the Gathering, so it kind of seems like my impression is that the Japanese Magic community is maybe more disconnected from the usual meta and the usual competitiveness because it just isn't as much as a focus. Magic is like 4th, 5th. Yeah. I even think it might. I think it's probably closer to 5th. Yeah, Pokemon. So that would kind of be my guess, is that unlike in the States, it's not just the card game. All right, so we get our attack off. They think for so long in all their decisions here. I guess I'm playing a weird deck, though. We finally draw another land. They have a Lotus Bloom coming off Suspend, so if we just die here, be a bummer. I meant to play the ally deck in the challenge. Because like this deck and the burn deck, I got a few matches in over the weekend, but didn't quite feel challenge ready. Oh my gosh. Game 2. Alright, so I want the Teferis, I want the Consigns. It's a lot of cards to bring in. I do think we can cut the drums because the Gran-Grans are going to get to attack most of the time. Cut a Bauble, cut a Tamiyo, cut a Fatestitcher. Yeah, so I owe you guys one ally challenge. Japanese deck lists and Pokemon TCG are often really cooking too. Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean I think it's cool that their deck building style seems to be so different, and it seems to be really like a lot more about self-expression, and like they do like to play a lot more one-ups. But how good is the ally deck? We have a positive win rate after a couple streams with it. It has very polarizing matchups, where I think it's very good against stuff like Boros Prowess Jeskai. I think it's pretty weak against combo decks. Pretty neutral against like Eldrazi Ramp, pretty bad against Tron. So very, very polarizing matchups. And I kind of felt like the metagame was going to be good for it. And we know we did play against Prowess, Hammer Time. I forgot what we beat in round one. Oh yeah, Esper. So like yeah, it was kind of like the metagame, or at least the matchups we got was kind of like the metagame I was hoping to see with allies, but just misclicked. All right, gonna keep this on the play. We might need to play 14 lands in all of my decks. Jeff with the 55, good to see you. Thank you, welcome back. Opponents in the tank here. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day. Japanese deck lists had the same feel compared to Western lists. Lots of cool tricks, tech, and unconventional strategies that came together just right. Nice. When can we play Sneaky Snacker? So Sneaky Snacker was like a card we did occasionally try when we felt like we wanted to play Flare of Denial and Flare of Malice, and we were getting stuff back from the yard. The 2/1 flying body felt so like it was nothing. Like it was almost a blank piece of text on the card, which kind of surprised me. They have Dismember here. Sunder with the 33 months. Thank you. Welcome back. All right, we made it through the main phase to the beginning of combat phase. It's interesting because the stereotype is that America is more individualistic than Japanese. Yeah, my read on the situation, I guess, is that I think that that's true maybe for like personal lives in America, is that our personal lives are very individualistic. You know, we're kind of doing a lot of things on our own, but our private lives are very, I think, are more communal than what I experienced in Japan. Like it seemed to me like Tokyo was a city where if you didn't have a family that was like around and close, like if you came from another city, or if you went to college somewhere else and you just didn't have friends in the city or family in the city already, it seemed like it might be like very easy to just, despite it being so populated and so dense, to live like a really like lonely life where like it's just hard to meet people. You go to work, you go home, you eat. It seems like it would be really easy. At least for me, I feel like that's how I might end up if I was born in Tokyo or if I had moved to Tokyo. But and so like I feel like these hobbies a lot of times, like you can go to a card shop and just still like not talk to anybody. Well, let's discard another Fate Stitcher. Yeah, it definitely can happen in America too, of course. How many followers do you need to be able to stream full time? Followers are like almost unimportant completely compared to like your concurrent viewers and subscribers on Twitch, right? But that number is also different for everybody. It's just different for everybody. What could they be thinking about so much? I think that I'm probably gonna go Mox Amber, Emry, Abandoned Attachments here. They snap off the scolding. I'm gonna try something real quick. Okay, last week you convinced me to try to play pre-modern. I think I would like to convince you to do that. I managed to convert the Penny Dreadful All-Star, my favorite deck life, to pre-modern. Okay. Prevent 1 damage to any creature or player. Draw a card. I feel like these decks are not. Wait. Tap X lands. Okay, that card's sick. Yeah, I don't know. These decks are not exactly doing it for me. Well, Chew, the 14 months. Thank you. Welcome back. Okay, there's a Boomerang Basics. Let's go ahead and attack with our Gran-Gran. If we discard the basics, then our Teferi cost 1 less, and we can hold up a replicated Consign, maybe. Could also maybe have discarded the Opal and just cycled the basics. Got 3 Fatestitchers in the yard. Nice. Let's go ahead and pick up the Amber. Pre-modern good is why you play Benage. They try to hit you with a lackey. Draw a card, advance the board. I see. Maybe I just need to start watching some pre-modern content. I'm gonna try to keep my heart open to pre-modern, but I don't know that I don't know how likely it is to actually make the stream. Okay, we drew 1 mana, draw 3. So they have a Tamiyo, which means that if they were next turn, they can start doing a lot of stuff. Tamiyo also can attack Teferi profitably next turn, unless I have a blocker. 1 mana, draw 3. Okay, I can Boomerang Basics the Tamiyo if I want. Probably will end up doing that. We could do that at instant speed. Although I think we'll do it main phase so that I can loot with the Gran-Gran. Now I didn't get to draw a card off that Boomerang Basic, so it's not like we're missing out on our Tamiyo flip right here. Maybe I should have surveilled first. Brewing is not very viable in pre-modern, in my opinion. Thank you for that feedback. That's definitely really important for my decision. They still go off with were. I mean, maybe like they still the Teferi is still like an issue for them, and replicated Consign like can be an issue for them, but they get to make a lot of mana. Maybe like draw a lot of card here. I do recommend an Argentinian Francisco, aka Fran. His content are good. Wait, Fran is making pre-modern content? That's awesome. Could have just Teferi on some sheet. I had minus the Teferi last turn, so could not have. Fran is a big pre-modern content creator. I mean, that's awesome. I haven't like, I haven't talked to Fran in like years, but I like Fran a lot, and that's awesome. They don't have a sync here. They return. Wait, is Sophoric Spring sync? It is. Okay, never mind. They do have it. I think they meant bounce to fairy with Boomerang. Well, that opens up a counter spell on their end, but that is kind of an interesting thought. Yeah. But I think playing into counter magic is probably wrong. Let me check Fran's YouTube. Yeah, Fran is making pre-modern videos. Cool. Has been doing pre-modern decks even before it came to Magic Online. That's so sick. Cool. I'll have to give it some watches. I guess I don't need to replicate. Can have a free replicate with Gran-Gran. So my opponent has 4 plus 4. So they do, if they have a second Belcher in their hand, they can just cast it and activate it again. Hopefully they'll end up doing some other stuff. They suspend another Lotus Bloom. Not exactly the action of a gamer who's about to jam a Belcher. Return it with Tamiyo. Right. I think they just missed the line, but no, yeah, sorry, I also missed it too. Yeah, they had enough mana, I believe, or maybe they were 1 short. No, I think they had enough. They had enough to just return the Belcher. Okay, so let's find some juice here. 14 lands in the deck. Keep saying that. There's an Ascendancy. So I guess we will lead on the Teferi, which is going to get it countered. They force pitching Stern Scolding. They have another counter? They do have so many cards in their hand. They have Sync in their hand at the very least, but we can beat Sync maybe with these. I guess I'm not sure. Because they can bounce it back to my hand. Maybe I should have Fatestitchered first. But also, if they use the Lotus Bloom to bounce this back to my hand, then they're kind of in bad shape because they can't have white mana. Yeah, we have a drum in the deck. So I'll probably actually tap a blocker here. Are we certain they have the second sync? I guess we're not certain. Seems kind of likely that they would have one, but and that they wouldn't want to use it because they would be putting themselves in such bad position. We had a few questions about what the Fatestitchers are for. Hope this is a good demonstration. Yeah, I guess we can tap Gran-Gran and then untap, but I'm not sure how valuable the loot is. When we cast the Opal, we'll have no cards left. Okay, going to game 3. Maybe I should have some Soul Guide Lanterns for the Tamashi. I think I'm going to go down an Opal, down 2 Baubles, and try the Lanterns. Tapping Bloom seemed good. Yeah, we could do that. Although I kind of like don't want to force the action, you know what I mean? I kind of want the action to not happen. It's kind of weird. We beat Esper Blink. We lost to Hammer Time, and we lost to Prowess with the Marty deck. I think this hand's got enough elements that we want to keep. I think turn 1 Gran-Gran's really good against them. We have 3 lessons to maybe get the discount. Emry plus Ascendancy is the combo. We're on the draw. I think I'm gonna keep this. My opponent mulls to 7. They play a tapped Orderly Plaza. Certainly like that draw. Love to see no suspended Lotus Bloom either. Usually, if this was game 1, I would get Steam Vents here instead of Fountain because we have our Surveil land is white, so we technically have more sources. But because we boarded the Teferis, we want the white source. Pretty minor, but I think good to talk about these little sequencing decisions. All right, I'm gonna cast a Soul Guide Lantern, I suppose. I like that we can replicate Consign for 1 mana once we get the 3rd lesson in the yard. I like that we have Lantern and Consign to cover both parts of their possible plan. They mill over 3 lands, probably going to take the sync. They do choose the sync. They play another tapped Orderly Plaza. Draw a pretty good card here. Likely we'll be looting away Abandoned Attachments unless I draw a land and maybe the Boomerang Basics. Yeah, I think despite drawing the extra Gran-Gran, I think it's mostly just important I get all 3. I get 3 lessons in the yard, so I'm gonna go Mox Amber, Boomerang Basics, my Mox Amber, and then I'll have 3 lessons. And then that means I can replicate Consign for just 1 mana. It's even possible my opponent doesn't quite realize that I can do that for 1 mana, even though I did it last game. It's kind of like a weird thing in general. So they might just try to have like a cap out for Belcher plus Flare Up next turn. So I guess I need to ask myself, do I want to cast Emry or do I want to cast the draw 3 and then maybe try to do both? I guess let's try to hit our land drop. It's just kind of bad. It's just pretty bad if they counter this. But again, my opponent might just want to have like a defensive flare or shoal. Okay, so they do shoal, pitching Jawari Disruption. So we can't afford to tap out, I guess. Let's go ahead and pass back. They play Sync. And then we cast this with Replicate, despite only having 1 mana up. Opponent may be a little stunned here. Because to me, it does feel like they were trying to hold up, like, Flare or something. Maybe I'm overreading it. Maybe I'm being a little hopeful, but that's just kind of the vibe I'm getting. So we got it countered. Big draw steps over here. Another Consign, pretty good draw. Let's go ahead and go to combat. Nice. So I do think if we cast that, it's going to get flared. I guess that's okay. I feel like I would kind of rather them flare the Emry, though. And then also, if I play Emry, I'm like kind of likely to be able to combo off. We'll play the Emry. Maybe it was wrong the first time we did it, too. Yeah, there's the flare. So the read is right. Now, I don't want to cast Accumulate Wisdom, miss on a land, and just lose to them having another Belcher, but with me having Lantern for Tamashi and me having Consign up, I'm feeling pretty good about our spot. Let's go ahead and go for the end of turn 1 mana draw 3. No. Okay, didn't play around Jawari Disruption very well. Abandon our attachments to Sweet Gran-Gran. And then we found Emry again. We do need another source of colored mana if we're going to play the Ascendancy, so I guess we'll discard the Otawara here. We also need to hit a Mox Amber or I guess I boarded out most of my Baubles to do the Infinite Loop with the Ascendancy. Oh, didn't play around Jawari Disruption very well either. Also, I guess some small sequencing things. Like I should have also, I guess, fetched a Steam Vents just in case I milled over 2. Our opponent here suspends another copy of Lotus Bloom. Let me just fetch to thin. Now, I don't exactly expect our Ascendancy to resolve. Sorry. Lantern is cost 1 less because of Gran-Gran. So this is actually a combo by itself. I don't think I want to tap out though. I think tapping out is too risky. Value. I just need 1 more mana, I think, before we can comfortably try to go off. I think they're very likely that they're staring at some interaction here. Now, one thing that might be a problem is like they counter the Soul Guide Lantern, then they Tamashi me, or were Tamashi me. Okay, so this is enough to try to go off here. I guess we should play around Jawari Disruption. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of reason not to. Okay. Don't think exiling their graveyard matters very much. Let's just go ahead and because they could also like consign the lantern, and then their last 2 cards could be exactly War Tamashi, and that would get us. Yeah, don't think I want the abandoned attachments. How many Ascendancies do I have left? I have only one left in my deck after this one. So we could run into a situation where winning the game is kind of difficult, although I guess our 1-1s, our 1-2s can win the game. Maybe I don't want to play the Ascendancy this turn so I can consign the Lotus Boom. If I draw a land, it's really easy to play this Ascendancy. Or if I draw a Mox. My opponent's got 2 cards in their hand. Like the speed that they're playing sometimes is crazy here. Can't you just loot Mox for infinite draw mana power? Yeah, I mean of course, but that of course I know I have the combo. My opponent's got spells in their hand and 4 open blue mana and 2 cards. You know, usually if I'm thinking and talking about stuff, right, and I know how the deck works. I got the combo, but we're trying to figure out what to play around here and how to play around it. They're deciding if they can beat 2 consigns. Yeah, I also can't do anything because my opponent is just chilling here on their second main phase. Okay, so this is enough to try to go off very comfortably. They have a force of negation, so no. Can you just here? Get him then. So they've successfully countered 3 of my Jeskai Ascendancies. And they get a Lotus Bloom down. And they pass with Whir Up. So we need to find a Teferi. Pretty likely to find a Teferi now that we drew this Accumulate Wisdom. Don't you lose to Whir now? What did you want me to do? I'm working on it. But was there a line that I could have taken here? Right, there's the Teferi. So, in theory, they still have to Whir for Belcher, and then we get to bounce the Belcher. Maybe their last 2 cards are Counterspell Whir. Counter Lotus Suspend. Okay, thank you. Oh, you know what? I guess I should have looted first. Okay, this also helps against Whir, so I think we'll discard the Tamiyo, although Tamiyo would have been kind of nice. Stern Scolding, good card to know about. So I have 1 Teferi, 1 Jeskai Ascendancy left. Yeah, the Otawara protects me from the Whir, thankfully. We're thinking that their hand right now is Whir plus Scolding. Very weird game. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of a reason to cast the Tamiyo when we know they've got Stern Scolding. They don't have the Whir. They play a Hydroelectric Lab, which is a little bit surprising. I guess that's a good enough reason. It's probably right to consign what trigger here? Or both triggers? Okay. Might start attacking with Emry too, since you have 15 left. I think we should be fine, but maybe I'm not cautious enough about the cards in deck. Even if we can resolve the Ascendancy, then we don't even need to worry because the loot is in May. But yeah, you might be right. I might be underestimating how hard it's going to be to win this game. This they could have sacked the Lotus Bloom to scolding my Tamiyo. They decided not to. Yeah, I know the Gran-Gran's not a May, although my opponent also decides not to block. Playing pretty fast. I do still have a Teferi. I do still have a Jeskai Ascendancy in the deck. I have a Fatestitcher in the graveyard. I have another Fatestitcher in the deck. I have 11 cards left in the deck. Bounce the bloom. Interesting choice. Maybe it would be good. So they had a Stern Scolding mystery card. One of the mystery cards is a sink. So now they just have the Stern Scolding. And they concede. Long match. Pretty interesting 7-card hand. I think we should keep. I think we should probably lead on the Tamiyo so that we can maybe go turn 2 Mox with Metalcraft and flip Tamiyo with Abandoned Attachments. But it's on a Multifor. And they were last seen playing Ammo Titan. Ammo Titan is a deck that can Multifor pretty well. Probably not the worst matchup ever. We have some fast combos. We can also kill on turn 2 if we're really lucky. Not going to be with this hand though. And we've got some Ashioks we can cast on turn 2 as well. So probably going to be mulliganing pretty aggressively post board. Titan confirmed. They do have an amulet. Boomerang Basics is interesting. Seems like I should be cycling that. So here's another Boomerang Basics that's going to let me flip the Tamiyo without doing anything else right now. And then there's a Jeskai Ascendancy, which is obviously exciting stuff. I guess I actually just want to go Abandoned Attachments, discard Gran-Gran, and this will get the Wisdom online. And here I've drawn a land, so let's go ahead and play this untapped. This is still all turn 2, draw 3. I could Mox Amber to play another Tamiyo. Let me go ahead and see what my top card is. Another copy of Jeskai Ascendancy. I think I should hold this so I can try to dig for Fatestitcher next turn. So not a bad turn 2. They Spelunk. Put an Otawara, and they play a Vexing Bauble. Vexing Bauble is a problem. Not necessarily a problem we have to solve right now. We could play Otawara and we could Abandon Attachments, or sorry, accumulate Wisdom. I think I will just plus this for now, play a Tamiyo and pass. Is it a problem when you stick with the triggers? I mean, it's a little bit of a problem. It's not the end of the world. They also only have 2 cards, so they may be interested in even just cycling the Vexing Bauble. But we did play out the Ascendancy when they have Beseiju, but we have another Ascendancy in the hand. Get back Boomerang. We could also Otawara it, but I think that's something we should decide next turn, because if we minus the Tamiyo this turn, we don't get to minus it next turn. There's a really good chance I just want to cast Accumulate Wisdom so I can dig deeper for Fatestitcher, because if I find Fatestitcher, I don't really need or I don't care about the Vexing Bauble. So my opponent ended up bouncing Otawara instead of bouncing the Beseiju, which is interesting. And I do think I'm going to go for the Accumulate Wisdom. Remember, Accumulate Wisdom doesn't actually draw, it puts into hand, so it doesn't flip the Tamiyo. Although the second Jeskai Ascendancy trigger will. Although I'm not going to be very interested in getting a clue. No clues will be had. Luis Navidad. Thank you for the 33 months. All right, so let's cast an Emry. This gives me 4 looks at a Fatestitcher here. There's a Fatestitcher. So we're going to cast this, and then they're going to be forced to Otawara. Oh, they don't Otawara. So do I exploit this by casting one of my zeros now? Yeah, I think so. Oh, sorry. I meant to cast the zero, then respawn with the Fatestitcher. I just mentally didn't do that. Although I guess it's fine because we can just play the Otawara and then combo off again. HES the 5 months. Thank you so much. All right, nice. They don't even use the Otawara, which is weird that they didn't, but I guess we'll take it. Up a game against Titan. Yeah, I do think this deck is sick. I don't know how good it is. Our win record hasn't been that good with it overall, but it really feels like, at least to me mentally, it's working. Okay, a matchup where we don't need the drum to use the Gran-Gran, so I think I'll just cut the drums for Ashioks and then click the submit button, and while they sideboard, I'm going to use the restroom. Teferi could be kind of interesting to be better against Force of Vigor on Ascendancy, but I think Beseiju probably means, and Mana Curve probably means we don't want to go that route. Okay, I will be right back. Probably mulliganing this. All right, they kept 7. Let's go to mulligan to 6 on the draw against Titan. And I think we're going to keep the 6-card hand. The second Mox Amber is kind of interesting. I think we should just bottom it, though. Pending for Vexing Bauble. We have a bounce spells for Vexing Bauble. We can also play through it, so I think it's okay. Not exactly loving that an Ascendancy isn't a very live draw here, I guess. Since we don't have anything but blue mana right now. We do mill a Fatestitcher and a Boomerang Basic, so that's +1 lesson. And a Fatestitcher. We also mill over an Amber, which we could cast, I guess. And then don't love milling over the Ascendancy. Maybe they should put some lands in their deck. All right, let's go to combat with our sweet Gran-Gran. Okay, now can't quite cast that. Let me Bauble ourselves here. Thanks, Jofu. Yeah, I think Esther got me this sweater. Another Emry. So let's say no thanks. Just surveil and abandon attachments this turn. It's going to put that in the graveyard so we can cast it with Emry. I don't think it's exactly one we want to draw. I guess it's okay because we can Emry the Bauble at that point. Probably be okay. So they find a land. They make some green mana. They have a Spelunking. Okay. Pretty good. No land to put into play. Their hand is Titan, 4 mystery cards. I'm going to discard the Otawara here. This is lesson number 2 in the yard. And we draw a Fatestitcher. So we do have the combo. We want to Fatestitcher from the yard first, I suppose. If my opponent has endurance, they do get to disrupt us. I guess let's go ahead and target a Mox so that, well, I guess if they have endurance, it doesn't matter either way. Because if they stop me from casting a spell, okay, they have Force of Vigor, sure. They pitched a Primeval Titan. All right, let me look at my top card. So I'm not going to get to attack with Gran-Gran and find another lesson. So I think we untap the Emry, replay Bauble, see what they're drawing. Drawing Otawara. They didn't have a land last turn. Endurance should just untap Emry with Fatestitcher after sacking Bauble. Okay, that's true, yeah. Good call. Okay, your turn. We could draw some cards here. And his Otawara, 3 mystery cards. There's the Otawara. There's a Vexing Bauble. They might be thinking about Mike and Sith Gardensing the Bauble, but they also a bounce land isn't even Titan for them because they don't have any other green. So some interesting stuff happening. So if I go Abandoned Attachments, I can't, and if I guess I just discard Tamiyo so that Ascendancy is alive when. And so I could also go Tamiyo and flip the Tamiyo with the attachments, but I think because we have the draw 3, we don't need to do that. Okay. Again, the Vexing Bauble turns off the Emry stuff. I do think I want to fetch with the Flooded Strand just to thin. Got pretty punished for not playing the Tamiyo and flipping the Tamiyo this turn. Looking for an Ashiok or an Ascendancy. We get a lot of looks at those. They go and copy a Vexing Bauble, sack a Vexing Bauble. 4 cards in their hand. Before this turn, they didn't have a land. Seems like they still don't have a land. Does double... I guess, yeah, double Fatestitcher doesn't combo with Gran-Gran. You need Cauldron to give Gran-Gran the ability. Alright, so we're going to sack the Clue token. We're 33 cards deep without seeing an Ashiok so far. But 34 is just enough. Oh, it costs 1 less because of Gran-Gran. They do have the Otawara in play, though. Guess I could have attacked with the Emry. Next turn we get to pick up and accumulate wisdom with this Tamiyo. Flip the other Tamiyo probably. Keep digging for Ascendancy number 3. They play a second Vexing Bauble and they don't sack this one. What about Fatestitcher just to tap out the Titans? Doesn't work against the combo. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure how effective that is. I might cast a Fatestitcher, yeah. If I don't find anything else. I might also Boomerang Basics my Ashiok so I can get extra mills here. Maybe I should have attacked with Gran-Gran first. When is milling yourself correct with Ashiok? If you have cards you want to mill over, I guess is the short answer. In this spot, it's death if we end up milling over. If we end up milling over our other ascendancies, so we can't do that. Thanks, Just. I've had a lot of negative feedback on this deck, so I'm glad to hear some positive feedback. So we hit 2 Lotus Fields. We hit Shifting Woodlands, which is big. Still 2 Ascendancies left in our 18 card deck. We're going to get to see a lot of cards next turn. I'm going to go ahead and pass back. They do have a lot more cards in their deck than we do, despite Ashioking them 3 times. They've got 32 to my 18. Yeah, back in the day when Fran was always saying never minus Ashiok against Titan, the deck was really different where they didn't have as many singletons like Aftermath Analysts, although sometimes they play 2, or Analysts are shifting Woodlands to randomly snipe and turn off some of their plans. And Titan also used to be better at attacking Ashiok too, so I do think activating it has gotten a lot better since back when that meme was around. So they pick up the Otawara. And they play a Collector Oof. Not really that big of a deal as far as our ability to combo. Let's go ahead and draw 3 more cards. We have 2 more Ascendancies left in our 17 card deck. There's one of them. And notably, they can't Force of Vigor me because of their own Vexing Baubles. Yeah, Dryad Valakut used to be more of a thing too. That's true. Now we just have infinite power and toughness with the Emry here, so I'm just gonna say no to the card draw. Well, maybe I should. I guess I could do one more so I can get a third Fatestitcher. Sure. But I don't think they can't. They just can't have anything because of their own Vexing Bauble, so we should be good. All right, so we'll show them the plan to tap their stuff. Then attack. Nice. Yeah, Fatestitcher is just such a clean card in this deck. You just get diluted away for value, and it just wins the game. It's awesome. I guess Disruptor Flute is a card they could have, although we have some answers for Flute. But yeah, I guess not literally no cards. All right, starting to do some Gran-Gran as a looter. I think that is interesting. All right, keeping our 7 on the play. Made Titan look so bad. I mean, they kept 2. Or I mean, they mulliganed really low game 1, and then they were stuck on lands for a long time. So I don't know. Might be playing against Titan again. The Discord has come to slay me. I think I'm gonna go just cast and accumulate wisdom. I would need like Fatestitcher plus 0 drop to even try to go off next turn. But trying to go off next turn is pretty important against Titan. Although they'd miss a land off the Explorer, so that's a good sign. Seems like the drum is a bit better. They do have a Besage in play, so it's probably better to try to play these out this turn if I can. Yeah, Fatestitcher could untap itself. It would be really gnarly with oh, what's the card? There's it's a 2. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, you mill. It would be really good with that card. Okay, we've got our lessons online here. So let's crack a main phase so we could draw accumulate wisdom and cast it for 1. I feel like it's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm feeling the luck shine upon me right now. Yeah, it's Mesmeric Orb. Okay. Not quite that lucky, but hitting Otawara here is really nice. Kind of impossible to play around too. TV with the 29 months, the Prime with the 32. Thank y'all as well. So there's a second amulet. Exposed. So they're going to have 4 mana here. Maybe they're holding the Vestige next turn, for next turn when after they cast the Explorer. Seems like I should just bounce an amulet and then they can't do much. They can't do much here. Because it seemed like their plan was to get I guess they can get 2 Lotus Fields actually. And cast a Titan still. But just a Titan with only 1 amulet is going to be worse. And they can't go double Lotus, then play amulet, then play Titan. At the very least, this seemed like the moment to cast the Otawara. Yeah, 1-man Otawara is crazy. Table Salt, 11 months. Thank you so much. Welcome back, my friend. So they're just going to channel T West. Probably going to get a land here. And I think they're just going to die next turn. Okay, plays the amulet instead of channeling the T West. They're going to Besage me, maybe? I guess the Besage got sacked. All right, looks like we got the win. The synergy deck are crazy. I'm glad y'all are finally seeing the vision. I was getting discouraged that like I'm really hyped for this deck, and there's just a lot of people saying they didn't see the vision. Which is gonna happen sometimes, but sometimes I get a little lost in the sauce. I'm glad it's starting to look like how I think it looks. All right, let's stick to the same sideboard plan. I don't think I want to try the lanterns. Yeah, could try the lanterns though. I think Old Ascendancy just had problems living long enough to do a thing. This might have what it needed. Yeah. Fatestitcher is a really big deal for just like being able to go off without a lot happening. Well, let's keep. Needs some help, but I think on the draw, like I definitely like having the speed of this hand. You want to play Gran-Gran before Emry here, because if your opponent dismembers Emry in response to the trigger, I guess you could just float a colorless or blue. Never mind. It's the same. All right, Crumbling Vestige. Big draw steps here off the Bauble. Mox Opal is not the worst because it does mean Jeskai Ascendancy is live now. Yeah, it could be a turn 2 win. They expose the Analyst. They mill over Saga Forest stock up. And wow, the turn 2 win. So yeah, we go Mishra's Bauble. Play the Bauble. Feels good to win against Titan with the turn 2. All right, let's get a 4-1 prediction going. Mulligan or 7. So we're at a mill to 6. This hand is pretty good if we can surveil into a Mox Amber or a land. We're not really that likely to do that, though. I think I'm just going to keep because this hand is... We don't multiply very well. This hand has every piece we need. I think it's okay, but... don't love it. We do connect, though, so happy enough. Tron. Ridge Style Waltz. Well, I was sponsored by Exker. I guess I could... I do have a... I do still use my Exker wallet. I guess I could buy him one. It was really nice in Japan. Excuse me, sorry. So we do have Metalcraft plus Ascendancy after we attack with the Tamiyo. I don't see any way for us to try to win, right? Because we go Opal, Amber, Emry, but we just can't cast the Ascendancy because we have too much blue. So do I play the Ascendancy out? It's pretty weak to Devour or Ugin if I do that. I think I might just want to try to flip the Tamiyo. But if I sack the Clue token, then they can kill the Emry, and then I don't have Metalcraft for my Mox. So yeah, let's just hold up the Clue Crack and just pass. We can also cast these. Yeah, casting Ascendancy is too weak against Ugin or Devourer, I think. I see you fixed the no static sound problem. Yeah, but then it led to a new problem where my audio interface cuts off randomly, like once or twice a stream. So yeah, just it does seem the problem does seem to be with the interface because resetting the interface today brought the sound back immediately. So I want to keep testing that. I thought that was probably the issue because I've messed with my XLR cable. I've updated all the drivers. All my software is up to date. So I figured it's either my mic is broken or the interface is broken. I don't really understand how it could be a mic issue. So I don't know if I'm gonna get a new interface or see if there's like any troubleshooting I can do. Yeah, but they fix one issue, 2 new ones appear. Daldoc, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Well, lucky they just have kind of brick. They do have Urza's Mine here. Maybe they have like a Dismember, but outside of that, we should be in pretty good shape. I guess I keep the clue uncracked so I don't need anything else besides what I have to combo off. Do I have a Cloud Lifter? I do have one. I don't use it because when I was using it, it caused a lot of problems. Maybe I should start using it again. I don't know. Yeah, I have a focus, right? The Cloud Lifter just like it messed everything. I don't know if I just set it up wrong or what. I remember it just messed everything up, and it's in my closet over there. All right, I'm bringing in the consigns again. Usually when I can just attack with Gran-Gran, I cut the drums. I think let's also cut a Tamiyo. Quick submit. The SMB 7.5 needs the gain boost. I mean, it's like functional without it. I guess that's why it's so quiet is because I don't have the Cloud Lifter. Okay, nice hand. This we can flip Tamiyo turn 1 and hold up Consign to memory. Pretty cool. The more wins you've gotten, the less you've had to go through the Ascendancy motions. Yeah, it seems like people know what's up. They mulled a 4. It looks like we might have a nice 4-1 on our hands here. Mulled a 2? Well, now they're just going to concede, and I don't get to flip Tamiyo turn 1. They kept. All right, not a bad mulled a 2. Wait. No, I can't Boomerang Basics the map and then consign it on the way down. Wow, and then we have Accumulate Wisdom online. Yeah, let me see if I draw another Mox Amber so we can just Accumulate Wisdom this turn. Maybe that's a little greedy. On a mold of 2. Let's consign, I guess. It feels a little bit mean. It's funny that we're against the multitude also when we have like the best hand we've had with this deck by a pretty big margin. When it rains, it pours, I guess. All right. So definitely liking the deck. Definitely liking the deck. Don't know if it's challenge ready or not. It does feel like, these last 4 matches, we played against Tron, we played against